Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? And so I'm looking at this $49 from Brandon, and I go, oh man, I'm already in 50 grand of debt. What's 50 more bucks? And here's the crazy part. I don't think I've ever publicly shared this. At the time, I was living with my girlfriend, and I was so broke that I had to borrow money from her to pay our rent. And so people always be like, yo, man, I don't have $49 for the program. I don't have $10 for the book. I don't have $1,000. So I don't have $10,000. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I was homeless as a kid. I stole food to survive. I literally, at one point when I was 29 years old, sold everything I owned to go and work with the #1 trauma therapist in the United States. I get it. I know what it's like to be broke. I also know what it's like to waste money on Starbucks, to waste money on Netflix, on video games, on going out to eat, on expensive stuff that I don't need, on sunglasses and shoes and suits and cars. I get it. Priorities, man. Priorities. And I always tell people, like, when you come into this stuff, like, it's just simply an opportunity. What you do with the opportunity is up to you. And as I sat there, I looked at it and all right, here's Brendan. Here's me. He's given me an opportunity. This is the thing that I've been looking for. Just somebody to help me, somebody who has figured it out in a different way. Because at that point, I mean, I was going to therapy, I was doing other work, I was going to group stuff, but there was some life skill things that I just did not have. I didn't know how to be courageous. I didn't know how to have confidence. I didn't know how to write goals. I didn't know my values. I didn't know just what I believe to be the most simple frameworks of the human existence. And he did. And he was giving it to me, a lifetime of education for a lunch. And I was like, all right, bet, I'm showing up for this. I'm doing this. I'm going to make this happen. And so I invested that $49, even though I was already in debt. I was like, screw it, let's go. And so I invested it. And I said, I'm going to do something with this money. I'm going to do something with this education. I'm going to do something with this opportunity. And so I kept just showing up to it every single day, learning it, stepping into it, reminding myself, like, on a long enough timeline, I could figure this stuff out. And that singular decision became what has catapulted me into over a decade later where I'm at. Because I realized something. I was never going to own a pair of shoes that made me love myself. I was never going to own a car that made me love I was never going to go to a dinner that made me love myself. And in this society, we are told it is the external that brings us value. We are told, get the nice car, have the nice house, wear the nice clothes, buy the nice shoes, do all of this, and you will love yourself. You know as well as I do, that's a lie. But we've been programmed, literally like robots in the Matrix. We have been programmed that consumerism is the key to happiness. And it's not. I do believe investing in yourself. I believe that more than I believe anything, because I learned something really important about my life. This is a me thing. If I don't pay for something, I don't pay attention to it. I just don't. Right now, literally right now on my computer are probably 100 free courses. I can promise you I've never done anything with them. And you hear that old adage, those that do not pay don't pay attention. I am that guy. I'm 100% that guy. I'm like, oh, I'm personal development guy. I'm #1 coach in the world. I'm gonna go learn all this stuff. And then it's like there. But I can guarantee you this, that $49 I paid Brendan, that I spent a lot of effort on. That $97 that was next, that $100, that $500, that $1,000 for my first conference, you better believe I took notes the whole time. I didn't miss a session. I showed up start to finish. And as I've gone through this journey, that number's gotten higher, right? Because of, and look, and this is the reality. You start where you are. People hear this like, I don't have $1,000. I get it. I was homeless, borrowed money from my girlfriend. I'm not saying you have $1,000. What I'm saying is you have to look at the way that you invest and what you do with your time. And so as of today, like I think about this, the most money I've ever spent at one time, and I'm going to share this with you guys because I want you to understand where this journey started. I wouldn't read a free book 20 years ago. Over 10 years ago, it was a $49 program when I was in debt. And then I spent $10,000 to get coached by Grant Cardone. Think about that for a second. That is the difference between $0 to $10,000 is a huge difference that took me 20 years to change the mindset around my money trauma, to be able to understand that the investment in yourself is an ROI that is incalculable, that you cannot put a monetary value on. And so I sat down recently and I did the math because I was really curious. I was like, okay, hold on a second. Let me look at this. Okay, hold on. If I spent that money then, and I'm spending this money now, but I spent that time then, and I spent this time now, well, then how much time and money have I spent in this journey? And I literally brought up a spreadsheet and I went back through all of my bank statements for over a decade, almost 15 years. And I added up all the therapy, all the group therapy, all the coaching, all the seminars, all the conferences, all the summits, all the events, all the retreats, all the courses, all the classes. I added up all the money that I'd spent on all of them. And y'all, this blew my freaking mind. $265,000. I was like, whoa, that's a crazy amount of money. And there's no monetary ROI on that money. And the time, I was like, yo, okay, cool. Let me just estimate. The time part was harder because there's a lot of courses, a lot of things I did again, a lot of Saturdays at groups. And I was like, oh, we'll estimate it. I'll do my best. I don't think it's 10,000 hours, but I know it's not 1,000. And so I just kind of like took a calculator. I was like, blah, 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 blah. This took a long time. This was a long exercise. And it turns out roughly 7,000 hours of education time have been invested into my own personal journey. So you're talking about $265,000 and 7,000 hours of education. And then I thought to myself, well, what if I multiplied it times all of the people that I learned from and the time that they invested and the time and money that they invested in themselves? And it's incalculable. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of education that I've gotten from them, and 10 million lifetimes. Like, I have no idea. It's absolutely incredible when I look at that number and I'm like, whoa, that's insane. And yet, when I started this journey, I wouldn't spend $5 on a book. The reason that I'm telling you about this and talking about education is because I truly and foundationally believe in my soul that it is the key to everything. It's everything. Because when I was not educated, when I was ignorant, lacking education about all the things that it is that create and make our lives, I didn't show up for myself. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't trust myself. I didn't give myself the permission to be successful, to be great, to be unbroken. And every single day that I was not learning, that I was not showing up for myself, that I was not doing what it took to be the hero of my own story, I was living into what other people had told me, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't strong enough, that I wasn't capable enough, that I was never going to matter, that I was a loser, that I was dumb, that I sucked. And that's the way I felt. When I started learning, that's when everything became different.